Yo, what's going on? Mike from Mike Talk Sports. Ilia Topuria and Alexander Volkanovski earlier in the week were scheduled to headline UFC 297 in Toronto in January, but of course this fight is now in jeopardy as Alexander Volkanovski will be stepping up on short notice to face Islam Makhachev. So in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the potential matchup of Ilia Topuria versus Max Holloway for the interim title in January in order to determine who will win between these two. If Volk beats Islam Makhachev, they clearly will make that trilogy, and if Volkanovski ends up losing to Islam Makhachev, he most likely will need a bit of time as he's fought consistently every 3 months for the past couple of years, and at this point, Alexander Volkanovski does need a break. In my opinion, it is very unrealistic to expect Alexander Volkanovski to be ready to go in January. And not only is Ilia Topuria versus Max Holloway the clear fight to make in replacement of this, but they've already been talking shit to each other, so this is a very exciting matchup. In today's video, I dived into the past couple of fights for Max Holloway, specifically the Alexander Volkanovski fights and the Arnold Allen fight he had, and I dove into all of Ilia Topuria's fights. So without further ado, let's get into it. Ilia Topuria is 14-0, and in his last 3 fights, he obviously won that 5-round decision against Josh Emmett and put on an absolute masterclass, winning 50-45 on 2 out of the 3 judges' scorecards. He scored a second-round arm triangle versus Bryce Mitchell after breaking him, and he had a second-round KO versus Jai Herbert. Overall, he's 26 years old. He's 5'8" with a 69-inch reach, and he fights from the orthodox stance, the same stance and the same reach as Max Holloway, and Max Holloway is 25-7, and in his last 3 fights, he had a 3rd round TKO versus the Korean Zombie, a 5th round unanimous decision versus Arnold Allen, and a decision loss versus Alexander Volkanovski. Diving into the tendencies and overall fight style of Ilia Topuria, there is a lot to say about Ilia Topuria. Though he has not faced the best competition in the world, certainly has not faced anyone on the caliber of Max Holloway. Ilia does a great job at staying in the pocket and rolling with his punches, deflecting them off of his shoulder rather than using his footwork and movement to evade shots in order to stay at range and counter. Now, does Ilia Topuria have good footwork? Of course, he has phenomenal footwork, specifically in the boxing realm, but is he someone who makes these significant large movements in order to evade shots? No, again, he really does stick in the pocket, uses his Philly shell to block body shots and block the rear side of his face, and again, he does roll with those punches extremely well. Even though he's usually in inside boxing range, he has a very sneaky calf kick with absolutely no tell, and overall, that's about it from Ilia Topuria. When it comes to his kickboxing, he'll just throw in that sneaky calf kick. He really does not go to the body kick or the head kick all that often. This fight will be a battle of the jab, and I will get into Max Holloway's jab when I touch upon him, but overall, he has a very good, powerful, snappy jab that consistently has hurt his opponents, such as Bryce Mitchell and Josh Emmett. And he even does a very good job at pairing his opponent's jab with a right overhand. Max Holloway is a guy who rarely gets over-aggressive, but when he does, Ilia is going to do a good job at pull countering him with a straight right hand. Overall, Topuria has a very clean and deep boxing bag. He really can go to any punch in his arsenal very well at a high level. And it's very hard to read Topuria's counters as he consistently switches up the hand and the overall strike that he counters with. Not only does Topuria have very good straights, but he has very short, tight hooks, which allows him to explode into it with a lot of power. Not only that, but when an opponent throws a hook at the same time as Ilia Topuria, he is consistently landing before his opponent, considering how short that hook is. Now, one negative tendency I have picked up on Ilia Topuria's game is sometimes he does have a tendency to drop that right hand when he's throwing a check left hook, which is something that Max Holloway will capitalize on. And something that will come to a great strength and somewhat of a deterrent in this fight, as I'll explain later, Ilia Topuria is very aggressive. Sometimes he gets slightly over-aggressive, and this will lead him open to some counter punches, though again, he does a very good job at rolling with the punches. In the grappling realm, he has phenomenal grappling strength and very slick transitions. He has high-level takedown defense, though he has been taken down in his career by Bryce Mitchell. But overall, do I see this inherently significant advantage in the wrestling department for Ilia Topuria over Max Holloway? No, I don't. Honestly, I do think this fight will take place on the feet. Now, let's dive into Max Holloway. I'm going to spend a little bit less time on him since we're all much more familiar with him. But overall, of course, Max Holloway does a great job at using his footwork and movement to get in and out of range, which is different from Ilia Topuria. He overall does have better kickboxing than Ilia Topuria, and where Max Holloway can win this fight is at range with his kickboxing because he does a very good job at having those calf kicks. Overall, he has a very nice roundhouse kick to the body and roundhouse kicks to the head, which I do think will be open against Ilia Topuria. It's all about Ilia Topuria closing that range and not allowing Max Holloway to get into kickboxing range. And Max absolutely does not telegraph any of his kicks, specifically his kicks to the body. He's consistently hiding them behind his jab and behind other boxing combinations. Against over-aggressive opponents such as Ilia Topuria, he does a good job at baiting his opponents in with feints, and then he does counter them. Specifically, he does counter with knees quite a lot. Every single time he's disengaging from a close encounter, he does like going to those knees. And once it gets into inside boxing range, he has a very short uppercut that he's consistently gone to throughout his career, and he had a great deal of success with this against Alexander Volkanovski in their second fight. Max, of course, has a great jab, but sometimes he does have a tendency to overextend on that jab, and he does get countered off of that jab sometimes, which is something I expect to happen in this fight, as Ilia Topuria is very good at this. One issue with Max Holloway is he's not great at checking kicks, and I do expect Ilia Topuria to absolutely light up that calf of Max Holloway. And while Max Holloway is very good off of his back foot, he is not great off of his back foot. Where he is great is off of his front foot when he is moving forward. So again, the name of this fight and overall the main important thing of this fight is Ilia Topuria going to be aggressive the entire fight, fighting off of his front foot and leading the dance? If this is the case, Ilia Topuria has a great chance of winning this fight. Overall, whoever leads this dance will win this fight. Make no mistake about it. But Max does do a great job of being unpredictable with the angles in which he enters his range with. In fact, I do think he does a better job at this than Ilia Topuria does, and overall, he mixes up his striking when entering range as well. This is about as 50-50 of a fight as it gets. Overall, I would be confident in picking Ilia Topuria if it weren't for his opponents and lack thereof. Overall, Ilia Topuria is somewhat inexperienced, and he's never faced a striker even close to the caliber of Max Holloway. And take into account, when I was reading off all of the strengths of Ilia Topuria, these were strengths that he had against Josh Emmett and Bryce Mitchell, who are not even close to Max Holloway. I really want to pick Max Holloway due to his overall fight experience and championship experience. I feel as though Ilia Topuria is not yet in his prime, as he will enter his prime once he faces an all-time great fighter such as Max Holloway. I think it's similar to Arnold Allen in the sense that I expect Arnold Allen to be significantly better after that Max Holloway fight. But guys, I just cannot get over that Arnold Allen fight, and I can't get over that Max Holloway versus Alexander Volkanovski 3 fight. In the Volkanovski 3 fight, it seems as though Volk was so much significantly faster than Max, which is why he beat him so badly, and Ilia Topuria will absolutely have that same speed advantage. Not only that, but it's how Arnold Allen performed in the Max Holloway fight. Every time Arnold Allen took his foot off the gas, was patient in outside boxing range and at kickboxing range, he would be losing the fight. But every single time he flipped that switch in his brain and said, you know what, I'm not going to let Max Holloway walk me down. I'm going to walk him down and make him fight me off of his back foot. Every time Arnold Allen did this, he was outright winning that fight, and he could have won that fight if he had a better mentality going into it, in my opinion. I'm making a bit of a leap of faith here, but I'm going to predict that Ilia Topuria has the correct mindset going into this fight of being extremely fast, explosive, aggressive, and fighting off of the the front foot. Overall, will that get him countered? Absolutely. And will Max Holloway have his significant moments in this fight and win a couple rounds of this fight? Yes, he will. But I'm going to be predicting Ilia Topuria to win this fight by a 3-2 split decision, a really close fight, but I am relying on Ilia Topuria's boxing, overall aggressiveness on the feet to win him this fight. Thanks for watching today's video of Mike Talk Sports. Let me know in the comment section below, what are your thoughts of my ultimate prediction that this is a very close fight, but Ilia Topuria will win it via somewhat of a controversial 3-2 decision. If you enjoyed today's video, smack that like and hit subscribe. I've never done this much amount of research into a UFC fight video, as this fight is so tough to predict, and I wanted to make sure I watched all of these guys' fights in order to accurately predict how this fight will go on. Again, thanks for watching today's video, guys.